Custer Cemetery.
Why did George Custer lose Little Bighorn? Have you ever wondered maybe it's because the Indians won? Yeah, they used good tactics, they had good weapons, they used the terrain to their advantage. Folks, let me tell you, I've been studying this battle for over 30 years, about how people moved around this battlefield. We'll never know all the answers. Tactics are just a bunch of people moving around a battlefield. And I'm not a weapons expert. I can talk intelligently, or at least I think I can, about some of this wood and this steel and this stone and this sinew up here. But folks, I don't care about this stuff either. You know what's important about this battle to me? Is that I remind each and every one of you that this is a story about human beings now. This is a story about people. This is a human tragedy here at Little Bighorn. I want to tell you two quick stories before I run out of time. One is about a young boy who was down in his camp. He was 18. His name was Windhorst. You see, how'd he get his name? He could walk all day long and not get tired. They said his legs must have been out of wood. The night before this battle, we did not anticipate any fighting. He said, I had on my mind what all young men had on their mind. I was 18 and I liked girls. He knew the Cheyenne girls. He wanted to meet some new girls. So he went down to the Lakota camps. He danced with those Lakota girls, and they fed him down there. They stayed down there and partied all night till the sun came up. He said, my friends and I walked wearily back to our teepees, talking about the wonderful times we'd had that night. And rather than wake up Mom and Dad, Wooden Leg will fall asleep behind the teepee. Some things never change when teenagers do that. Wooden Leg goes into the teepee, and his mom says later on, take a bath. So he will go down to this river. They call it the Greasy Grass River. He takes a bath, and he falls asleep on the soft grass under these cottonwood trees right below us. And Wooden Leg says, I began to dream, and I dreamed I was hearing gunfire. But then he realized it wasn't a dream. Soldiers in Reno were attacking the other. I raced to my lodge, and my father was there with my pony, and he said, hurry, hurry! I went into my teepee, and I painted a circle on my face. I filled it with red and yellow paint, which was my tradition. I didn't have time to braid my hair. I wrapped it in rawhide and threw it over my shoulder. I got on my best war clothing, and I picked up my bow and arrows and a 6-shot cap and ball revolver. And I raced through the camp on my horses, and I saw the women and children out of breath. It made me angry.
Welcome to the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument.
Folks, he's going to get down there where those trees are. The soldiers are hiding in the trees.
This program will be presented.
And all of a sudden, the soldiers came out, and Wooden Leg says we fell back because we thought they were charging us. Then we began to realize that they were running from us. And we rode up beside the soldiers. We began to talk to them. We began to say, why don't you bring more Crows and Shoshones to fight for you next time? Said one of the soldiers turned around and he shot my friend Whitebird in the leg, and it made me angry. Wooden Leg says I took my pony quirk and I hit the soldier over the head, and it stunned him. And I took his rifle away from him. I had a new weapon for the battle. I found cartridges in saddlebags. And then I heard a scream behind me. Soldiers were at this end of the camp attacking down here. It's Custer. He said, I rode down and tried to get along a ridge below the hill, but I couldn't. There were too many warriors down here, no place to lay down. Imagine that, folks. And so he got on this horse and he rode around to the north side of this hill where men were hiding behind dead horses. He said, I crawled up with my new weapon and I aimed it at the top of the hill, but then I stopped. There were many young boys and Sioux boys. They were 14 or 15. They were trying to get up there and touch the soldier bodies. They were trying to show their bravery by counting coups. I didn't want to shoot. I was afraid I'd hit one of them. And then he says, I saw something strange. A young boy who was much younger than I was, maybe 15 or 16, was trying to get away from the carnage of battle. He was falling down time and time again until he got on top of the hill where I was. He fell down and I saw him right in the eyes. I looked right in the eyes. There's a look of terror in his eyes, he said. But then as he looked at the boy, he noticed that one of those soldier bullets had taken away the boy's face. He had no lower face. His jaw was shot away. He said the sight of him made me sick and I had to vomit. Well, that's Woodenleg's testimony on the backside of that ridge up there. But you know what? There's two sides to every story. There's a young boy out here from County Kerry, Ireland, a cruel, green, wet place. A young Irish boy that's just buried his mom and his daddy because they starved to death in something called a potato famine. You've heard of the potato famine, folks. 1 million Irishmen starved to death, another 1 million fled the country. And if you've been to Ireland, you can see a mass grave where thousands of people are buried with not one single headstone. And that young Irish boy says, this is not going to happen to me. I'm going to America. Because America is the land of milk and honey. It's the land of opportunity. That young Irish boy gets on that boat in New York City. You know what he sees in the windows? He sees signs in the windows that Irish need not apply. We don't like the Irish, we don't like the Germans. They're taking our jobs, we want them to go home. So that young Irish boy will hold up his hand. He will join the 7th Cavalry for $13 a month. And folks, he will ride in that saddle. I hope you'll feel that saddle after this talk. Because he will ride in a saddle like that for a month and a half until he gets to a hillside 5 miles away. And he will look down in that valley and he will see 1.5 miles of Indian teepees. And he hasn't slept all night and he's had very little breakfast. He's tired. But the men around him are waving their hats saying, hooray, boys, we found the village. In your body, there's fear and there's adrenaline. Because you've never fired a weapon in combat. And you've never seen it even up close. Folks, 1 hour later, you're lying up on top of this hill behind a dead horse. And your hands are sticky with your own blood as it seeps through one of these wool coats that you have to wear in 98-degree temperature. And you hear the screams of horses and men dying around you. And as you look over the back of that horse, you see those painted faces, and they're getting ever closer to you. And to you, they look like demons from hell. You begin to realize as your life is oozing away on top of that hill, that every one of those 2,000 painted faces wants to take a piece of you literally. Folks, that's not a very pretty picture, really. It's not a very romantic thing. We so often glorify war, folks. It was not a pretty thing out here. Death rode on many horses on this afternoon. It's not like the paintings we see in our museums. It's not like our Hollywood movies. But folks, let me tell you, those two stories tell you what happened out here on a hot, bloody Sunday afternoon, 126 years ago. Folks, as you walk up to the top of that hill to reflect in a few minutes, I hope that you will think about this sacred soil out here. You will think about this hallowed ground, and you will think about the human tragedy that took place here between both of these cultures. Because, folks, this soil is saturated with blood. Blood from Lakotas and Cheyennes, and Crows and Arikaras, and boys from New York, and boys from Pennsylvania, and boys from Germany, and boys from Ireland, and many other young boys from all over the world. Hope you reflect. Hope you will have a safe journey wherever you head today. Thanks for stopping by and listening today. By the way, our next talk's going to start in about 10 minutes right up on the patio. It's called The Battle of Little Bighorn. You get an excellent presentation, orientation to the battlefield, which you just arrived. Yeah, have a safe journey. Thank you.
There you are. I gotta go find Karen. She was so good, I couldn't wait.
Welcome to the Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument. My name is Tanya Plainfeather. I am a seasonal interpretive ranger here at the battlefield. Aside from being a ranger, I'm a member of the Crow tribe. We were on the Crow Indian Reservation. It's made up of about 2.3 million acres. There are about 11,000 enrolled Crows. About 8,000 live here on the reservation, and 60% of the Crow people speak the native language. I'd like to welcome you all to a beautiful day in Crow country. It's very nice to have each and every one of you here today. Thank you. This is the 4:30 battle talk. I'll be giving you a brief safety message. I'll be giving you an overview of the battlefield, what you can do and what you can see here. How many visitors? Is this your first time here? I have a handful. Whether it's your first visit or your 100th visit, I advise every visitor to travel on our tour road. Directly to your front right-hand side, it will take you up to Last Stand Hill. Directly in front of you, see the big granite marker on that hill? That's the infamous Last Stand Hill. The big granite marker is 7th Cavalry National Monument. There are 210 7th Cavalry soldiers, civilians, and Indian scouts names commemorated on that marker. All the people who perished in the Battle of Little Bighorn on the 7th Cavalry side. That is also a mass grave. There are approximately 189 remains buried underneath the big granite marker. If you look out onto the landscape, you'll see white marble markers cluttering the entire area. These mark the spots of where 7th Cavalry soldiers were one time buried. This is the only battlefield like this in North America that will show you where soldiers fought, where they fell, and where they buried them, the exact same spots they fell on the same battlefield they fought on. It's extremely unique in that way. Our tour road will take you up to Last Stand Hill. At this time, there is no parking available. If you have to drive up there, you can drive by it and view the monument. You can walk up there. The trail is directly to the front of the visitor center. Our tour road continues south down a 1.5 mile of road called Battle Ridge. It's directly in front of you. This battlefield spans over a 5-mile radius. The reconnaissance of this battlefield spans over a 14-mile radius. The tour road continues south 5 miles to the Reno-Benteen Defense Site battlefield. The Reno-Benteen battlefield is considered separate from the Battle of the Little Bighorn. This is where Reno and Benteen will be held up for 2 days for the duration of this battle, with approximately 350 survivors of this battle. The tour road will take you down there. There's a walking trail available at the Reno-Benteen Defense Site battlefield. It takes about an hour to get around. You can purchase a guidebook for this trail. Take your time. Everywhere where you see a sidewalk on the top of the defense site is where these men were held up for the next 2.5 days. There's a turnaround, and you'll make your way back in this direction. You'll exit the same way you came into the front kiosk. Travel on our tour road. Get a feel of this battlefield. See the movements of Custer and follow the movements of his soldiers. There is another trail available directly to the front of the patio here, right on the front right-hand side of the lawn. You can access that lawn by walking right over the grass. That's perfectly fine. There's also a guidebook available for the Deep Ravine Trail. Deep Ravine Trail is a self-guided walking trail, about 1.5 miles round trip, so it's half a mile down there and half a mile back. Keep in mind that going down there, it's a nice trail because it's all downhill. I don't mind going down there. Coming up, it's all uphill. Consume lots of water while out on these trails. Remember, while out on these trails, you want to be in rattlesnake country. If you encounter a snake and you feel like it's going to be a threat either to yourself or another visitor, come and get a park ranger. Preferably somebody other than me. I won't find someone to wrap that snake down. We don't kill snakes, so we'll release it out on the battlefield and let it go. But keep in mind, they are out there. There's insects. This is the wide open prairie. There's critters out there, so just take caution. The gated area in front of Last Stand Hill is where comrades who came north with Custer were one time buried. It is gated to protect the natural vegetation of the land. Remember that there are no bodies left out on this battlefield. They are all reburied on Last Stand Hill. The majority of officers were exhumed and taken for burial elsewhere. Custer's remains were taken to the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, 1 year after this battle. He has not been here for 125 years. He was removed in 1877. Directly behind you, the rows of markers, the cemetery, that is the Custer National Cemetery. This is something like Arlington. There are approximately 5,000 deceased, honorably discharged veterans buried in this national cemetery, dating back to the Spanish-American Wars, Frontier Force, World War I, World War II, Korea, and the last war to be represented in this national cemetery is the Vietnam conflict. It was closed in 1977. It's full. The only way the cemetery can be reopened is by an act of Congress. Behind you is our visitor center with a great museum with lots of wonderful artifacts on display that were found on this battlefield or donated. In the bookstore, there's a wealth of information. As of the year 2001, publications, writings, and articles in the Battle of the Little Bighorn have now surpassed writings on Gettysburg. The Battle of the Little Bighorn is the most written about battle in the United States today. Lots of information, over 5,000 books. Very picky and choosy about what you read. There's so much information out there. The restrooms are not connected to the visitor center in any way. They are across from the parking lot in front of the National Cemetery. There's a drinking fountain available, and there's a spout available near the Stone House or the White Swans Library. Please fill up any water containers in those areas. Thank you. Please extinguish all smoking materials inside of your vehicles. There's a very high fire danger this time of the year. Some of you may have been passing through areas that have fires. If you look off to your front right-hand side, you can see the outline of some hazy mountains. They're hazy because of wildfires. Those are the Bighorn Mountains. Directly to your front right-hand side, you see a smaller mountain chain. You can kind of make those out. By this time, this is the Wolf Mountain. On the left-hand side, if you're traveling down or to a road, you'll see a smaller mountain chain. Those will be the rosebuds. Directly to your front right-hand side, down on that valley below, where you see the tree line is where the Little Bighorn River runs through. That is the Little Bighorn River Valley. I will be referring to these separate areas to the duration of my battle talk. We'll pick up with the Centennial Campaign. Custer is not wandering out here looking for an encampment to strike. He is a subordinate officer. He is part of the Centennial Campaign, which is a three-pronged pincher movement. The first column in the Centennial Campaign is coming from the south. Their objective is to seek any hostiles in unceded Indian territory. They're wanted by the U.S. Army. They ordered them to go back to the reservations, and anyone who did not comply is now wanted. A full-blown war will be waged. The column coming from the south, headed north in our direction, is the Wyoming column, to be led by General Crook. General Crook will have the largest amount of soldiers, and he'll be headed north in this direction. The second column is coming from the Montana Territory. They're coming from Fort Ellis. This will be led by General John Gibbon. And the third column, and the commander of the entire Centennial Campaign, is General Alfred H. Terry. He is going to be coming from Fort Abraham Lincoln, headed in this direction. With General Alfred H. Terry is this very popular Civil War hero, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and his 7th Cavalry. 3 columns are to be in this general area, round up any hostiles, and take them back to the reservations in South Dakota, or in the Dakota Territory. If all 3 of these columns were to be in one place at one time, the total amount of soldiers in the Centennial Campaign equaled 2,500. The biggest threat of this campaign was not that they couldn't take on the hostiles. The biggest threat was that they would not be able to find them or catch them out here in the prairie and the frontier. 11 days before this battle, General Crook will be encamped in the Rosebud Mountains having his morning coffee. He'll be attacked and actually ambushed by 12 to 1,300 Sioux and Cheyenne warriors. General Crook and these warriors will engage into a 6 to 8 hour battle. General Crook will spend 80,000 rounds of his ammunition in this battle. What has just taken place is known as the Battle of the Rosebud, May 17, 1876. The Battle of the Rosebud will take Crook, the largest amount of soldiers, out of the Centennial Campaign. Unbeknownst to the commanders, the Terry Gibbon columns, the largest amount of soldiers is now taken out. The remaining columns meet on the Yellowstone River, the Terry Gibbon columns. Terry will order Custer to march down the Rosebud Mountains, veering left. If and when he discovers any hostiles, he is given very vague instructions to use his own discretion. Custer will be in an area, and 1 month before this battle, an Unkpapa Lakota Teton Sioux, by the name of Crazy Horse, a spiritual political leader of his people, will hold a Sundance. It's going to be 1 month before this battle in an area called Deer Medicine Rocks on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. At the Sundance, Sitting Bull will make a 100 flesh wound sacrifice. He will cut his arms 50 times on each side as a sacrifice. He will not eat or drink anything for 3 to 4 days, fasting and dancing in a circular lodge known as a Sundance that has a center pole. At the end of the fourth day, Sitting Bull will collapse from exhaustion. When he collapses, you will see a vision of bluecoats falling dead upside down into his encampment, and with this vision, Sitting Bull saw a great victory for his Indian people. This is where the famous quote comes from, soldiers falling into camp. With this vision, Sitting Bull saw a great victory. Then Indians catch wind of this vision on the reservations and come out here to join up with Sitting Bull. When Custer's Indian scouts come into the area, now Custer's coming into the area with the Senate's cavalry, which makes up of 647 men total. He has 33 officers alone. He's got 105 NCOs. He's got 35 Arikra, also called Breeze Indian Scouts, 6 Crow, 4 Sioux. He's got 3 surgeons. He's got a reporter. About 100 mules with a pack train coming into the area. The Indian Scouts come up on the remnants of the Sundance, and they will find a buffalo cow skull with a lance through it. A lance looks something like a spear. This is a message to these soldiers, to the Indian Scouts, that these men are going to die like women. With this sign, the Indian Scouts saw a very big, quote-unquote, medicine. Approximately 15 miles to the east of us here, on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation, and an area known as Busby, Montana. This is where Custer will set a bivouac or day camp the day before this battle. Custer will send out a small contingent, a small reconnaissance party led by Benteen. Benteen comes back with the word that he has picked up the Indian trail. It goes right down into the Greasy Grass River Valley. At the time of this battle, these Indians refer to this area as the Greasy Grass River Valley. They refer to this battle as the Battle of the Greasy Grass. A half-a-mile wide trail of dug-up earth going right down into the valley. They have an idea where this encampment is, and the trail is fresh. This earth is literally dug up because the Indian horses are pulling travelers. It's an A-shaped frame made of teepee poles with all of their belongings on top of it, and it's dragged behind the teepees, called a traveler. In this encampment, on the day of this battle, which is about a mile and a half up the valley, will be the Northern Cheyennes encampment. There will be 7 separate bands of Lakota, Teton, Sioux, all Lakota, all Sioux, but 7 separate bands. They will all be represented in this battle. There will be the Unkapapas at the southernmost end, camped in an area known today as Gary Owen, Montana. There will be the Ogallala's, this is crazy horse people. The San Barks, the Minneconjou, the Brule, the Blackfeet, the Two Kettle, will all be encamped in this encampment. Northern Cheyenne Arapahoes have been granted for fighting in this battle when there was a small hunting party of 5 Arapaho males who were mistaken for Indian scouts who were captured and who fought with this encampment on the day of the battle. In this encampment on the day of this battle, there were 7,000 to 8,000 people total in this encampment. This is population total, women, children, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, the entire population. Out of that number, 7,000 to 8,000, 1,500 to 2,000 are fighting-aged warriors. Their ages are anywhere from 13 to 35 with an average age of 22. There are about 1,000 teepees on this valley floor on the day of this battle. 3 days before this battle, this encampment would more than double. Many Indians catch wind of Sitting Bull's vision and come out to join up with him. 3 days before this battle, there was only 3,000 people in this encampment. Within just a few days, it more than doubled. Custer is in an area known as Custer's Day Camp. He gets the word of the Indian Trail. He has found the Indians. They know their approximate location. He makes the decision at 7:45 p.m. to pack up the 7th Cavalry and march them all night long under the cover of darkness down the Rosebud Mountains to a point in the Wolf Mountains called Crow's Nest. What Custer has just done is known as Custer's Midnight March. In this encampment, a female can pack up her teepee, her belongings, and her children, everything she owns, within 15 minutes and be well on her way. They can travel 10 miles farther than any military command, including mounted soldiers of the cavalry. The proficiency of the Northern Plains people was known, and that's why they feared they would get away. Custer just marched his men under the cover of darkness, hoping not to be detected. He'll be at a point in the Wolf Mountains called Crow's Nest. His 6 Indian scouts know a place where you can get a bird's eye view of the valley floor. Half Yellowface, also known as Big Belly, chief of the Crow Indians, is looking down on this valley. From Crow's Nest to that valley floor is about 15 miles away. So look off to your front right-hand side. On the right-hand side of the Little Bighorn River Valley, where the tree line touches the interstate, there are gravel pits. That's an area called Shoulder Blade Ridge. Half Yellowface is going to refer to what he sees on Shoulder Blade Ridge as worms in the grass, or maggots on a buffalo road. What he sees at that distance is a horse herd of 15 to 20,000 head of horses. 15 to 20,000 horses. At that distance, the white horses are moving amongst the brown horses, looking like maggots on your buffalo robe. The Indian Scouts can estimate the amount of Indians who are in this encampment by the size of that horse herd. The Indian Scouts will be making a reconnaissance of this encampment. They're making a universal sign language to each other. They're going to tell Lieutenant Barnum, Lieutenant of all the Indian Scouts, what is going on down there. They will tell Lieutenant Barnum that there are enough Indians down there to keep us fighting for 3 days. When the word gets back to the General Custer, he will reply, well, we'll just have to finish them in one. Custer will be receiving conflicting reconnaissance from his Indian Scouts. The Indian Scouts are telling him this encampment is packed up and on the move. The night before this battle, on the night of the 24th, in this encampment there was a celebration going on called a dying dance or a death dance. This is where 20 young boys, the ages were anywhere from 13 to 17, were inducted into a suicide society. I don't like to use the word suicide. I call them no-retreat boys. These boys vowed the next time they went into battle they would die for their people. Many of them felt true to that promise and they did die for their people. So there was a huge celebration going on. They paraded those young boys, those young men, all around this encampment the night before this battle. The fires had been burning all night long in this huge celebration, and now on the morning of this battle have turned into morning fires. Those horses are up and moving around. It was a very hot, dry, dusty summer, and those horses are kicking up a lot of dust. By the time Custer gets up to the point of Crow's Nest, he'll see nothing but a haze over this valley. He'll be relying on the reconnaissance from his Indian Scouts. They're telling him that this encampment is on the move. He makes a decision to advance on this encampment. The biggest fear of this Centennial campaign was that the Indian was going to get away. The hostiles were going to get away. He'll come to the west side of those Wolf Mountains. He will order Benteen south with 3 companies, D, H, and K. Send him on a reconnaissance mission, round up any fleeing hostiles. He'll come down further into the Reno Creek Valley, used to be called Ash Creek. Midway through the Reno Creek Valley, he will get onto an area known as the Morasses site. Morasses is the French word for swampland. He gets onto the area and it's a swampy-like indentation with lots of cattails and lots of water. Custer's men have been on the Indian Trail for 40-plus days. Custer will be riding his men 25 to 30 miles a day. It was about 100 degrees the days before, during, and after this battle. These soldiers are wearing old wool uniforms. Anywhere within 5 miles of the Rosebud mountain chain or the little bit larger Wolf Mountain, any small tributary, before it reaches the main waterway, is filled with alkaline, which tells that the water is very salty. On the morning of this battle, the 7 cavalry soldiers did not have coffee. The water was so salty they couldn't drink it. They have not had adequate water to feed them and their horses' needs, and they're going into battle. At the Morasses site, Custer's men wish to water. He'll be pushing his men forward. Bringing up his rear are those mules, his pack train. His mules smell this water. Mules get antsy. They get bogged down. They get right into the Morasses site. Has anyone ever tried to move a mule before it was ready to be moved? Virtually impossible until they're ready. Custer makes a strategic decision at this point. He leaves his pack train back at the Morasses site with 1 company, B, Legacies, and McDougall. He will tell McDougall, as soon as these mules are ready to be moved, you move on into the valley. All of Custer's provisions are on this pack train. His hardtack, grain, bacon, sugar, coffee. But most importantly, his extra ammunition he has suspected back at the Morasses site. Custer will give Major Marcus Reno command of 3 companies, G, A, and M. Custer will retain command of 5 companies, C, E, I, F, and L. You don't have to remember all that, but I'll tell you why I mention it. They're coming down in 2 parallel columns down the Reno Creek Valley. About 5 miles from that valley floor is an area known as the Lone Teepee Site. The Lone Teepee Site was a funeral service going on for a warrior who had a wound in the Battle of the Rosebud and has just died. This family has chosen to stay away from the larger encampment to take time to mourn for this dead warrior, to pay their respects. As the soldiers and the Indian Scouts come upon the area, this family is going to flee. Lieutenant Barnum is going to note by telling Custer, "There go your Indians, General, they're running like devils." When Custer and his soldiers get up onto the area, they're going to find that the fires are still hot. There are personal items scattered everywhere. There's a teepee left erect and 1 teepee with just only poles. These Indians were just here. They have just left. Not like earlier believed that they were on the move. These Indians are going to go tell the encampment, and they can be up and going within minutes. Spencer makes the decision to advance on this encampment. Spencer made the mark at Reno, cross the river, or ford it at Reno's Ford Crossing A, the mouth of the Reno Creek Valley, cross the river, and attack on this encampment at its southernmost end. Reno has never fought Indians before. He is up against the largest encampment that many of these Indians have ever seen. Having coming across this valley floor, headed in our direction, and scholars like to call this battle man versus nature. Every single aspect comes into play in this battle. You have got the lay of the land, the landscape, the topography, the terrain, the condition of the soldiers, the condition of the warriors. There are approximately 1,000 teepees. He will immediately hold his command. He will order his men to dismount and skirmish. These soldiers are not trained far off, the horses mounted. Skirmish line of Civil War tactics. Every fourth man in your squad was a horse holder. Takes your horse, the remaining 3 men, and stand back at a distance. The remaining 3 men stand in 5-yard intervals and begin firing into their objective, in this case, right into the Unpapa encampment. Many of these skirmish lines depended on volley fire. That's where they all fired at the same time. They will be fired into the Unpapa encampment who are sitting most people in these first few minutes. Women and children will be killed. Soldiers will be firing into a sleeping encampment. Many warriors will be sleeping in because of the celebration. In those first few minutes of firing, Go, an Unpapa warrior, is going to lose his entire family. His 2 wives and his 3 daughters will be killed. Women and children will be running for their lives across this valley floor as their homes are being attacked by U.S. soldiers. They'll be running all the way across this valley. Many of them will make it to an area known today as Crow Agency, Montana. Sitting Bull, an Unpapa spiritual leader of his people, take his women and children in his camp to safety. He'll come back and he will rally up warriors shouting out the war cry, Halska Hey! It's a good day to die, it's a good day to fight. Go out and protect your people. Sitting Bull does not participate in the fight, in the battle, contrary to popular Hollywood belief. He takes the women to safety, comes back and rallies up warriors. Reno will be surrounded, skirmished, will be flanked within 45 minutes. Reno will be noted for saying it looked like the ground was growing Indians coming up by the hundreds, counterattacking. Reno will then try to do an open and door closed maneuver in this valley known as a pivot into a timbery area. This area is called Gary Owen, Montana, and this will be the bloodiest portion of battle for Reno and his men. In the fight in the timbers, Reno is down there with an Indian scout by the name of Bloody Knife. This man was a Rikra and half Sioux. He was the right-hand man as far as Indian scouts went with Custer. Bloody Knife gets shot in the middle of the forehead. Bloody Knife is right next to Reno. Everything on Bloody Knife's head is now on Reno's face. Reno will get very disorientated, very distraught. He will shout out to his men 3 separate commands within 15 minutes. He'll tell his men to mount, dismount, and mount up. Less than half of any of Reno's command hear any one of these commands. Reno's men begin to panic, retreat, or route through the timbery area, crossing the river up to the high bluff 5 miles south to the Reno-Benteen defense site battlefield. He does a tally of his men. He has realized he has just lost 1/3 of his command. He has 16 men unaccounted for. Some of these 16 men make it back to the defense site, and some do not. The majority of those men were tortured to death and very badly mutilated. We think of this time period, mutilation, very graphic, horrific, terrible. They were terrible. But these are things done on an everyday aspect of life for the Northern Plains people and actually done all over the world. Many of them have very spiritual meaning to them. Women participated in the majority of these mutilations. I had a man tell me he didn't doubt that one bit. That women did that. At least I know that. Children participated in these events as well. About that time, Reno and his men are digging in a defense site. Benteen will arrive. Remember Benteen sent south? He found nothing. The big question on Benteen's mind is, where's the general? Reno will reply to Benteen, for God's sake, stay here. Help me. I've just lost 1/3 of my command. He outranks Benteen, and he orders him to stay. And he stays, and they dig in. About that time, the pack train will arrive. Remember with Someone Company B, Captain McDougal? They arrive. The pack train is ordered to stay. Before he's ordered to stay, Benteen had a note in his pocket, and it read, Benteen, come on, be quick, big village, bring packs. P.S. bring packs. And this was a message sent with one Giovanni Martini. For Benteen, a message from the generals, from Custer himself. What's important about this is that Mr. Martini was an Italian immigrant. He was a trumpeter and did not speak a word of English. Custer blurted out this message to Martini. Martini didn't know what he was saying. William W. Cook will scribble this note for Custer, who was Custer's adjutant for the day. He'll be sent with that message. He'll be leaving in an area known as Medicine Tail Coulee, and he'll pass a man by the name of Boston Custer. They'll wave to each other with their hats and continue on their way. Martini is headed south. Giovanni Martini will be the last man Indian to see any of Custer's men alive. Giovanni Martini will change his name to John Martin. He will live to be 85 years old. Those men dig in. The pack train will be used as a field guard around the field hospital. The pack train doesn't come any further north than 5 miles south. Although the general has ordered for it to be here, it will stay 5 miles south. They will use the packs as a field guard around the field hospital. Dr. Porter, the only surviving surgeon, will tend to those wounded men, the Reno 19 Command. Custer will be in an area known as Medicine Tail Coulee, on the left-hand side of the Rubicon Valley, where he has made his way in this direction. Custer has with him 5 companies, C, I, F, and L. He will split his command again, 3rd time. He will send companies F and E led by Captain Yates and Lieutenant Smith to attack the middle portion of this encampment, but Custer believed was the northernmost end. They will make 2 attempts, and these 2 attempts will be unsuccessful. Custer and his men will regroup on an area known as Calhoun Loop, or Calhoun Hill. It's about 1.5 miles down this area where you see that silver van out there. 5 members of the Custer family will perish in this battle. You have General George Armstrong Custer himself. You hear this man referred to as Lieutenant Colonel and Brevet General. He was a Brevet Brigadier General at the time of this battle. During the Civil War, he was a Brevet Major General, two-star of an Army of Volunteers. A brevet was a temporary rank given generally during the Civil War. In military protocol, you address an officer the highest rank he's ever been granted, in this case is a general. Custer will be receiving Lieutenant Colonel pay. Technically, he is a Lieutenant Colonel, although he can wear the insignia of a general and be called General. They will lose Captain Tom Custer. This man won 2 medals of honor during the Civil War. Boston Custer, the civilian with the pack train who was hired out as a quartermaster, will also perish in this battle. Harry Armstrong Reed, also known as Arthur Reed, was Custer's nephew. He was nicknamed Audie. He will perish in this battle as well. He was a civilian with the pack train as well. Captain James Calhoun was married to Custer's younger sister Margaret, nicknamed Maggie. These 5 family members perished in this battle. On Calhoun Loop, Captain Keel will be in charge of the rear guard of companies C, I, and L. They will hold up in a defense site and will dig in, and they will be fighting very bravely for about 45 minutes. Custer and his men will be in an area where we are today, and they'll make their way down to the river in front of the visitor center. How do we know Custer made it to the river? They will find Mark Kellogg's body, who was a reporter for the Bismarck Tribune's body down by the river, who was side by side with Custer through this entire campaign. Custer will be in an area where we are today, sitting and waiting. Indian accounts will state, we saw the soldiers just sitting there. The long knives were just sitting there waiting. What are they waiting for? The general has just sent word for provisions for Benteen. He said, come on, be quick, bring packs. Custer has no idea that these men are held up in a defense 5 miles south, and they'll never make it there. Eventually, the rear guard will get overrun. There'll be 105 separate war leaders represented on the warriors' side. Sidney Bouton did not participate in this battle, but one war leader by the name of Crazy Horse will play prominent in this area. He will have 400 followers behind him. The warriors were not obligated to follow an individual war leader. They followed them because they favored them or they wanted to. These warriors will make independent charges on the soldiers to gain war honors to climb the ladder to chieftains. There will be independent charges made on the rear guard. The first of those charges is going to be lame white man. Southern Cheyenne war leader who was in this area visiting his family. He'll perish in this battle, and his marker is out on this battlefield, but his body was not found here. Low Dog, He Dog, Raven Up Face, Gall, Two Moons, and many, many other war leaders will be represented. They will get overrun. Those men will begin to run out of ammunition. These soldiers are given 100 rounds of carbine and 24 rounds of their Colt 45 ammunition. Those men will begin to experience a phase of combat known as tactical disintegration. I've read about it in every single battle. They'll begin to run in this direction. There's an area on the left-hand side of Battle Ridge known as the Keel Crazy Horse Trail. It's where Captain Keel and the majority of his men will perish. In that area, these soldiers and these warriors will be fighting hand-to-hand combat. They'll be fighting with the butts of their guns and even their hands. The 7th Cavalry did not believe they'd be getting close enough to these warriors to ever need their only hand-to-hand combat weapon, their saber. They'll leave those back at Fort Abraham Lincoln. About 40 men from the rear guard make it to Last Stand Hill, where the soldiers are now hiding behind a breastworks of dead horses for cover. They're hiding behind their dead horses. As a last resort, these 7th Cavalry soldiers have shot their own horses in a defense. There'll be approximately 36 to 38 dead horses found in a big circle shape on the top of Last Stand Hill 2.5 days after this battle. The warriors will be creeping up very close, many of them on their bellies, firing, shooting, getting down, changing position. Firing, shooting, getting down, changing position. Firing, shooting, getting down, changing position. The soldiers will state, we do not see where the shots are coming from, using the natural terrain as camouflage. The battle on Last Stand Hill will last for approximately 15 minutes. It was not very effective for the warriors to be firing at them with their guns. There'll be 41 different guns represented on the warrior side in this battle, all the way back to flintlocks, muzzle loaders, breech loaders, to most repeating the Henry rifle. Many, many different guns will be represented. In the last few minutes, these warriors will use their bow and arrow. They will lean back, arc their arrows directly up into the sky, come down and land down on the men hiding behind their dead horses, firing at them in indirect fire with their arrows. There was approximately 15 to 2,000 warriors in this battle. Each of these warriors carries approximately 30 to 50 arrows. There was literally hundreds of arrows going on the top of Last Stand Hill in the last few minutes of this battle. There would be no stone arrowheads represented in this battle, all metal from trade. The last shots are not fired on Last Stand Hill. The last shots will be fired down in Deep Ravine. Deep Ravine is a self-guided walking trail where they will find 28 bodies of Company E. What they're doing on there, we'll never know. Whether it was a retreat, a charge, or they were running for their lives, thus continuing the custom controversy. You ask, eyewitness Indian accounts. John Stanton said, but what happened in the last 2 minutes of this battle? I saw nothing but dust and smoke and mass confusion. This hillside here would be covered with thick smoke. This was before smoke was gunpowder. If you want to get an eye view of what the warriors were seeing in this battle, go down to Deep Ravine. You can see where they found these men, and then turn around and look up. You'll be looking up to Battle Ridge. The majority of warriors will be coming up. The battle will be over for Custer and his men. But don't forget the men who are 5 miles south that will be held up for the next 2.5 days. They'll be held up under constant firing. On the 26th, this encampment breaks up and splits in all different directions. The biggest 30th Centennial campaign happens. The Indians get away. The hostiles flee. Sitting Bull heads to an area known as Lodge Grant, Montana. That's where I'm from. He makes a big U-turn and he heads up to Canada. He will be a refugee in Canada for the next 5 years. He'll surrender to the United States government. 5 years later, he'll travel along with the Wild Bill West Show. He'll be a celebrity. Crazy Horse will surrender at Fort Buford 1 year after this battle with 1,100 of his followers. He'll die just a couple days later by one of his own 2 people. The biggest part of this entire campaign happens. They go in all separate directions. This encampment has heard the news that there are more bluecoats coming. The men who are 5 miles south see a huge cloud of dust to the north. They believe that these warriors have now took their families to safety and they've come back to finish us off. I've read their diaries. They were very scared. As it gets closer, they're going to find out that it's 2 columns of blue. It's the Terry Gibbon column, arriving 2.5 days after this battle, 1 day after expected, 26th. They get up onto these areas, get up to the top of this hill here, and in ghastly horror see what's happened to Custer and his men, all dead. Can't believe their eyes. They'll follow this dead body till back to the Reno Benteen Defense battlefield where they break the news to those men. They can't believe their ears either. They come back and those men order burial detail. Very graphic and horrific job these men had. These bodies lie out here in the hot June sun 2.5 days. Some of them very badly mutilated beyond recognition and already decomposing. They got these bodies in the ground as fast as they could. The deepest grave was 12 inches deep, and that was the general's grave himself. Some of the enlisted unidentifiables had only dust or sagebrush thrown on top of their bodies as a makeshift burial. They would take TV rolls from this abandoned Indian encampment by this time, cut them in 3-foot sections, and stake it in the ground where they buried these men. where they buried these soldiers. If they were identifiable, they wrote his name on a piece of paper, stuck it into a spent cartridge case, and tapped that on top of the teepee pole as a makeshift headstone. That's how we know where all these markers go out on this landscape today. We do not know how many warriors lost their lives in this battle, or how many civilians who were in the encampment that lost their lives in this battle. Many of them were buried in tree scaffolds along the Little Bighorn River. Many of them were buried on the way to the Bighorn Mountains or wherever they may have been heading. We can only estimate about 100 warriors. There were no warriors' bodies found on this battlefield. But there are 3 markers on this battlefield to commemorate 3 men who lost their lives in this battle on the warrior side. You can see 2 of them about halfway through Battle Ridge on the right-hand side. One is lame white man, who led the first initial charge in the rear guard. The second is noisy walking. This was Ice's son, Antelope's nephew. This boy did the dying dance the night before this battle. He fell true on his promise and he died for his people. At the Reno 18 Defense Side battlefield, there is a marker out there for a Sanzark warrior by the name of Longroad who was trying to count coup on a soldier's body, who was killed in the crossfire. Remember that this battle was not about good versus evil, either side being good or either side being evil. This battle was about Americans fighting Americans, or Americans fighting Native Americans. I hope you enjoyed my talk, and I hope I was informative. If you have any questions, I want to just argue with me.
Soldiers were around.
Is that where all the other soldiers were found?
Yep, where all those white markings are.
That's where all of them are belonging.
Yep, that's where the soldiers
I guess the question blew off, but...
Windhorst Family National Monument. The last battle talk of the day will be in 15 minutes. This program is presented on the covered patio area looking up toward Last Sand Hill. Hopefully you'll join us. Also hope you're enjoying your time here at the Windhorst Battlefield.
There's some soldiers and Indians down the markers back there. Stand hill.
yo las morenas quiero. Las muchachas de mi rancho esas sí saben querer, y cuando muerden rebozo es para corresponder. Las muchachas de mi rancho esas sí saben querer, y cuando muerden rebozo es para corresponder. Chaparrita de cuero, vayan de lejos las güeras, yo las morenas quiero. Tomaditos en la cama, vete pa' la cabecera, con el rosario en la mano, ruega a Dios que pronto muero.
From all you old-time cowboys, and listen to my song. Please do not grow weary, I'll not detain you long. Concerning some old cowboys who did agree to go spend the summer pleasant on the trail of the buffalo. Found myself in Griffin in the spring of '83. When a well-known famous drover on the walking up to me said, "How do you do, young fellow? Well, how'd you like to go spend the summer pleasant on the trail of the buffalo?" Well, I've been out of those track-pins of the drover, I did say. Going out on the buffalo road depends upon your pay. Thought he was a greenhorn, I've been born healthy yet, and all the fun.
Can't you picture the warriors standing on top of one of those
Big sky country. Devil's Tower.
I'm gonna keep you near me night and day. You're the best of the whole nine batch. You're my once in a lifetime catch. And now my fishing days are through. 'Cause I caught a keeper when I caught you. I caught a keeper when I caught you.
A little bit closer look at the Devil's Tower. Just sticks up there.
Go like this.
And then we'll come back and film it from right here.
Yeah, you look like this.
Okay.
You're holding the gun.
If you follow them, we'll...
Sparrowhawks.
This one? Yeah.
Can't believe they didn't go all the way to the top.
They must have
Ridge.
the top.
Yeah.
I mean, how old those trees are, and how long they've been sitting like that.
There ain't no way that tree's 10,000 years old and been like that and not,
No.
and not rotted. This
No.
is the last one fell 10,000 years ago. So, I don't know.
No, 10,000 years it'd be petrified.
Hi, Mommy.
Come on, Santa.
Oh, there you see it good now.
Yeah, we're doing it next week on now. And kiss.
Aren't they pretty?
Those are really good pictures.
That's what they're waiting for. Maybe it's in.
One big, the whole basin.
Old guys are big.
So all ones that used to be one big volcano.
That's like Jackson Hole.
I would look at
Right
it.
at you. Settles half-inch a year.
See your deer then?
That'll make a good shot.
You write that down.
Can you zoom in pretty close with that?
Oh, pretty close. I can get more of a big picture.
The one that Willie was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. One. Anyway, and we also had, did you see any donkeys?
No. We saw one deer. The only thing we saw in the whole... We don't get 104 in Florida usually.
Well, it's really sticky there, don't it?
Yeah. It's
really, really sticky.
You drip.
Must be coming down now.
the scarves open. Someone fell or what? Memorial thing? That's a big piece, isn't it?
They have a little snack bar and they go on. They don't sit and like make sandwiches.
This is all what came down right there.
Hey, G.
Oh yeah, there's 2 of them up there. 3? Oh my gosh, a whole bunch. Oh my gosh, how many are up there? Can you see?
I don't know.
4?
3 or 4?
Yeah.
maybe?
We're almost to the top.
Just what I've heard.
Is
Did
he
you
almost
see
to the
that?
top?
Yeah.
now? Wow.
Unreal.
Imagine taking
I can't even
Not
imagine
bad.
going up 10
I can't
Like
afford
this.
one.
I would freeze. Somebody come and get me because I can't move. I haven't got that kind of,
I don't have that kind of nerve.
I don't have the nerve, I don't have the strength, but I don't.
Must be the trail around the devil. Big one over there is the pillar that came off. Little one was Pam.
Runs ears up there? Runs ears up there?
I've had several do it.
Have you?
Yeah, I've never been up there, but I know a lot of people that have. Are you the guy with the bicycle on the back of the van?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some lights burned out in the back. Your brake and blinker on the left-hand driver's side is not working.
Oh, no.
We followed you from the road construction.
Oh, really?
okay.
So,
Oh, wow, that's
saw you when you got out.
the brake and the
Brake and blinker on the driver's side on the back's not working. working on the passenger side, but not on the driver's side. Yes, it is. You're not fixing the bike, you're fixing the motor.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's 2 on the ledge, 2 below, and then there's 2 on up above.
One person isn't going too quickly.
That one, and he's not going very far, very fast, no.
Prairie dogs. Pam's nose. Huh? There we go, July 26th. That's where we stayed last night. Here on the hill in the shattered Black Hills. Sundance down there. Highway 90. That's where the people live that own this land. And there'll be the cabin. Two of them up here. And we stayed up there last night. A little more of the land here. It must have been something important to fly flies that mass. Black Hills National Cemetery. Civilian.
Wonder how the child died. Child with one feather. If he was killed by a white man or...
about 5 miles off of 90 from the National Cemetery. All right.
Suck it in, would you?
Binoculars, things over here? I noticed.
Good job.
I'll have to see it.
Make sure we're in the thing.
What do they have down here?
There's a pathway over there.
Yeah, Damien.
That doesn't roll that far. What time is it?
He's a George.
It's not very much of a wind either. Look, it's a little humid. else but Kevin. They never were.
Now, how come Washington and better last president?
The size one.
Okay, very well.
Get out.
All the flags of the states.
Obviously, you've already proved that.
Make sure to get one of these. $25 for a little. And Mom.
Looking the other way from Mount Rushmore. Crazy, crazy horse.
The following movie is rated PG.
George, wake up! George!
It's Saturday.
I know, but it's the first day of soccer. It's our first game.
Soccer? I can't today. I caught a cold while sleeping. Achoo!
You'll be fine. Come on, it's gonna be great.
Va a explotar.
Las manos me tiemblan. Mi corazón sueña.
Mi corazón es tuyo, eres su dueña.
Mi forma de actuar, ¿de qué depende?
No dejo de bailar, parezco un duende.
Es tiempo de que este pobre angustiado
sepa lo que es estar enamorado.
Estoy muy orgullosa.
Pelusa, esto es para ti.
¿Qué tal, niños? ¿Listos para jugar fútbol?
¡Listísimos, papá!
Guaca, ese incrudo.
¿A qué me han denigrado? Soy un trapeador con patas.
¡Se pueden jugar! ¡No! ¡Bajen! ¡Cubran la portería ya! ¡No, sepárense!
Por lo menos corre muy bien.
¿Sí? Lo que me preocupa es que todos están jugando menos Stuart.
Hay mucho tiempo.
¿Mucho tiempo? Quedan 40 segundos.
Hizo un excelente trabajo con los gajos de naranja y eso no es nada sencillo. La verdad me alegra que no haya jugado. No quiero que le hagan daño.
Ay, es minifútbol, no dañan ni al balón.
¿Estás bien, Irving? Párate.
¿Puedo hacer su cambio?
Sí.
.60 Henry rifle.
excursions?
Okay, so push again.
Good.
Yes.
How is it? Where is it going?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rub on your face there.
Ah, bullshit.
Ah.
Get him.
Needles.
Here. I'll let you go on the fire. She's just a year.
Crazy horse.
Can you say hi, Claire?
Needles. Honey bee.
You are. Make sure your teeth.
And Mount
Don't
Rushmore.
smile. You just got a couple teeth there. Just a couple.
Well, we drove up from down there.
Are you from here? I am. Well, transplanted. I am now. Where were you from before? Chicago. Chicago. Where were you guys came from? We might be around here. No, we're from the Chicago
You're
area.
from Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I want it or not. I don't think it's yeah. It was wonderful. Where are you guys from?
Lincoln, Nebraska.
Ah. A little bit closer.
A little bit.
My piano teacher was from Red Cloud.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Actually, when another student and I were her executors when she died, and she
It will be good, and I will prove my love until you're sure that I'm
There's the deer.
Cat Country 98.7 always plays more of your favorites from Colin Ray, Sawyer Brown, and George Strait.
Way too late. I don't care what they say, the lovers do. I just wanna dance with you. I got a feeling that you have a heart like mine, so let it show, let it shine. Hey, and I just want to dance with you. I want to dance with you.
A bit of elk. Grazing. Tired of people looking at him. He's leaving. Mark's on it. The fire station is. Fire in 88.
Fisher's doors for 21 hours only. You'll find radical discounts store-wide during Fisher's big 21-hour sale. You'll find sofas, love seats, recliners, TVs, DVDs, and appliances drastically reduced. Hundreds of brand-name furniture, TV, and appliance items will be clearly marked with radical discounts. Plus, you can buy with no payments or interest until 2003 and pay in full by 2003. Hundreds of items will be drastically reduced. If you want a bargain, don't get one.
Sometimes Mrs. Rudy calls crying late at night. Cause her and Mr. Ugly have had another fight. We talk a while, I hear her smile, and then she says thank you. I tell her that she's welcome, like any friend would do. As ugly as your husband is to you. Imagination, imagination, I'm what you do. I wonder if she thinks about me the way I think about her. And Mr. Stephen Rudy, I don't know what you do to me. Every night I dream one day of being with you. And Mr. Stephen, I don't know what you do to me. Every night
Look, the little ones are going to be over there. I'm not going to do it. I think at the other end.
But baby, I wouldn't mind knowing how long it's gonna be.
Oh, I thought you were done.
I've got to get away. The reason that I can't stay don't have a thing to do with being in love. To be this road, and you ain't the only one who feels like this world left too far behind. I don't know why you gotta be angry all the time. Someday
That rose because it's very humid in here and we have the lights turned on. What you guys see, you'll have up above you some of that nailhead spar crystal. And that does look considerably better than what we had up at the top. That's because this has not been touched by human hands. It actually looks like a collection of nail stars. That will always go on the ceiling of the cave. You can see some right above up here. What will go on the sides and the bottom is that dogtooth spar crystal right over here. Now this is considerably younger than what we had up at the top. Hasn't quite had a chance yet to develop its points in its 6 sides yet, so it looks kind of rounded. We'll see a lot more well-developed dogtooth spar crystals as we go throughout the cave. Now before we go through, if anyone needs to get touching out of your system, this rock right here is your one spot to do it. It form. When stalactites form, it's from water dripping straight down, depositing minerals behind it. However, these formed in an upward and outward motion. Now, one theory is that at one time there was enough wind in the cave to blow the water in that direction. However, as you can see, there's the stalactite formed straight down, so that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. They don't really know how that was formed. Now, the 3 bowl-like formations that you can see over here, they're called bird bats. They're very, very rare. They're only ones. Got a long one over there. Got a few long ones you can see in the mirror over here. The reason why they're all the way in the back is because these are very finicky formations. The water drips or evaporates at the wrong rate, or if anything should happen to plug up the hole even the tiniest little bit, it will completely clog up. And then the water has to drip down the outside, deposits minerals there. That's when this forms. It's called a stalactite. It's kind of hard to remember, so to help you out, stalactites hang tight to the ceiling. Stalagmites are mighty and grow up. And when those meet in the middle, they form a column. We have a few columns over here, you can see. Now this next to me used to be a column. If you guys remember that piece I passed around at the beginning of the tour, that got broken out of there in 1901. If you can see this little tiny bit of growth right there at the very bottom, that's all the growth that has happened in 101 years. Wow. Takes these formations.
Whoop, let's go. Badlands. Degrees out right now. Badlands.